Welcome back to Talking Shop Podcast, Ohio's #1 running podcast. This is Noah Graham here, joined with Hunter Moore and Nathan Moore. Got some cool stuff for you today. Nike Cross Country Regionals was last weekend. I'm going to hit you with some different stuff first from that, and then pass it over to Hunter. He's going to throw some college stuff at you. We'll get right into it with the boys' championship race. There were 28 teams that competed overall. I'm going to stick to the teams first, then we'll head over to the individuals because I'm sure we all got a little bit to talk about there.
Yes, we
do. I got some questions to bring up to the others. Like I said, 28 teams in the race. Mason, the best team in Ohio, the Division I state champs, they were 7th overall. They scored 249 points. Something I want to bring up, their #1 runner the entire year, Isaac Schlattleiter, something along those lines, how you say it, ran 16:05 at this meet. It was a really fast meet. That was not a good time for him. This was after he took a DNF at the state meet last weekend.
What's going on?
Do you have a scoop on that specialist?
I heard he got.
What?
I don't know quite how to say this. Basically, ran over at the state meet.
Oh
That's
my
what
God.
I heard. Very.
That's awful.
And it was the details I heard were relatively graphic. So I won't say those, but I don't know to what extent everything was because obviously he was able to run the next weekend, not quite where he'd usually be.
Right.
And if he was injured enough that he had to take a DNF, why could he run at all the next weekend? I don't know for sure. But if something's wrong with Isaac, we're certainly passing along our best to him.
Honestly, props to him for going out and giving one last run. He's a senior, right?
Yes, he is.
Giving it one more race,
for the team.
Right,
for the
go out
team.
on a good note. I mean, I'm sure he wanted that All-Ohio performance and probably a top 10 performance
Probably
at
even
the state meet.
A Mason NXN berth, too, I'm sure. Looking at that season, he probably wanted
I don't think
beforehand. No, I don't think they'll get it now, obviously. I'm saying going into the race.
I don't think he would have been enough to jump them
Gotcha.
to the next spot.
Okay.
Let me see here, because second place was 145 points.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Mason was at 249,
Yeah.
like I said. And, Isaac only scored 80.
Dude,
So that wouldn't have been enough.
making it to NXN as a team is almost impossible.
It is impossible.
It's like impossible.
Right, and I think I mentioned this 9 weeks, but to make it to NXN, there's 9 different Nike regional courses. You have to be the top 2, gives you 18 overall, and then the committee over there takes the next 2 teams.
Sure.
But so Mason at 7th, Lancaster was 9th. Big race for them. They beat Marlington, who is ranked ahead of them coming in, as well as St. X. We've kind of talked about Lancaster a bit this year. They have a set of triplets, the Lenoys. It's I don't know them all off the top of my head, but they ran very well. Let me see, I got it right in front of me. Trevor Caden and Isaiah Lenoy ran very well. Trevor Lenoy led it with 15:24, and then Caden with 15:40. But that was a great day for them, pulling off those upsets. Unfortunately, against my alma mater. Everyone races a little bad, but that brings us to the next Ohio team in the men's race, which was Marlington. They were 11th. Something I do want to talk a little bit about this. Wasn't Cernansky's best day in the office. On a fast day, he ran 15:36. I'm sure he was thinking himself more in the 15:10 area. But more specifically, their other junior, Mike Nichols, who I would touch on a little bit later in the individuals, but he was 34th in a time of 15:25. He led the way. That was the second fastest time for the Dukes on the season. I'll get into that a little bit more once I hit the individuals. But also representing Ohio was Medina, 18th. Dublin Kaufman, 19th. Hilliard was 21st, obviously led by that phenomenal NXN berth from Ackley, which we'll touch on as well with the individuals. Then St. X, the D1 state runner-ups, falling all the way to 26th. Maybe it was the cold or something, I'm not sure, but that was not a good performance for them. 26 on 20 out of 28 teams. Evan Trapp, who's legit, ran 15:47. Their second guy, 16:23. Not the day they were hoping for.
Maybe just went for a little hobby jog out there.
Pretty much. Sometimes it can be hard to come back after that state meet. You see it a lot of years. I know, obviously, being close to Marlington, we kind of set the precedent a little bit different last year. We screwed around a lot after the state meet. Not everyone's head was in the right place going into NXR, but they ran pretty well overall this year.
What does that mean?
A lot of goofiness going down, or what?
Yeah, you don't take it as seriously as you did during the season. You come off a high off of state meet.
Sure.
Teams do all.
I guess
People
so.
blow up all the time. Nathan Moore waxed Nathan Mountain 2 weeks in a row. Didn't show up for NXR.
What the?
Or XC Town Meet of Champions. It's just how it goes. It's hard to come back after the state meet. Nothing
It
crazy.
is.
Poor Nate.
I mean, yeah.
I never ran as well at the postseason meets at the state, so
I did pretty good that one year. I
Well,
guess my senior
If
year.
you put the
Yeah.
whole focus on this one meet of the season, then you
Yeah.
get past that. It can be difficult.
It
But,
is. Obviously, it
can.
was for St. X. Yeah, moving on.
Moving to the girls' championship race, 30 teams overall in the race. Really cool. Third overall at NXR was Hilliard Davidson.
Wow.
Upset the D1 state champs Mason, who was fifth. Hilliard Davidson had 187 points with a 1830 average, which is phenomenal.
1830.
That is
Wow.
blistering.
Yeah.
The girls' race, like I said, we'll get into the individuals in a bit, wasn't quite as hot as the guys' race. The guys' race was a lot of course records broke, but it was so fast. The Hilliard Davidson was led by Caitlin Jones. She's committed to Vautech. She ran 18:03. And like I said, the defending state champs, Mason, were fifth. They had 2:08, so only 20 points behind Hilliard in a big field like that. Not too bad. Freshman we've been talking about her all year. Effa Pasca led the way for him. She ran 17:49,
Good for
which
her.
is just another phenomenal time for her. So then we have Abby Drozdak from Northmont. She was 20th in 17:53. Savannah Dennison from Menor was 27th. She ran 17:56. These are all fast times. I'm just kind of listing people off, but a lot of fast times. Us who've ran at Terre Haute specifically. No, it's not like a super fast course or anything.
Terre
Like,
Haute?
Terre Haute. It's not that deep.
Yeah. It's
It
so
is.
deep.
But it's not that fast. But these are fast times
Yeah.
from all these.
These are incredibly fast times. On the guys' side,
I was-
the course record was broken by 26 seconds, I believe.
I believe
I was
it is,
shocked.
and we'll touch on that in a second. I want to finish
Yeah.
getting through these.
Sure.
And I actually, I apologize for on the team side. I said Hilliard was third, Mason was fifth, and I forgot to mention as well, representing Ohio in the championship race, we have Medina at 12th, Beaver Creek, historic team, 14th, Avon at 15th, and then Dublin Jerome at 21st. So some good representation from Ohio there. Also in the girls, I had mentioned Caitlin Jones from Hilliard Davidson, and then we had Kayla Gonzalez from Shelby was 32nd, 18:04, and then Grace McKay from Mason rounds out the top Ohio girls. She was 43rd in 18:15. So I mean that's just 7 girls I named that were all under 18:15, which is fast, especially on this course. I think I missed actually. Bella Butler was 12th in the race.
Yeah, I
D2
was
state
mentioning
champ.
that.
She ran
Yeah.
17:41.
That's really impressive.
That is quick. That's a good course. Obviously, 12th, little short of being in that top 5. I don't know about you guys. I was hoping for a Katie Clute appearance. I knew she wasn't going to be there. A Katie Clute
surprise
or
drop.
a Sarah Peer.
Yeah.
Someone Katie Clute specifically can
Yeah,
get in there with the best.
She would move on, no doubt
Right.
about it. If all things go.
I agree. It was.
Fine,
I mean,
yeah.
it was fast. You had to run. Let me got it up somewhere here. You had to run fast. That's the point.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Right under 17 was the last spot.
Wow. So it's even faster than her PR, even. Not to say she wouldn't get it.
17:11 was the 5th spot out.
So right around her PR.
So 17:11. Yep, 17:02 was the 4th spot. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Gotcha.
She would have been a near shoe in.
Yeah,
but we'll see
her at Foot Locker, right?
Yeah, Foot Locker
Yeah.
and Running Lane as well. I don't think people are going towards Running Lane very much. Even in this first weekend of NXR, I thought we saw some really heavy nationally ranked teams participate. I don't think we would have seen that if they weren't planning on going to NXM because NXN and Running Lane are on the same weekend.
Yeah, I think
So-
I think the crowds are flocking back to NXN after the gap years.
It's cooler.
Yeah,
It's
is.
in Oregon,
objectively
like,
cooler.
Definitely cooler.
You get
I
all the
agree.
gear, you get all this cool stuff. They fly you out. Hopefully, they fly you back too. And But it's awesome.
Of course.
It's on Nike's headquarter.
right.
Who wouldn't want to go to see that? Come come on now.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
And I think that the whole like qualifying process is a lot cooler in Nike, where running lane you just kind of sign up and go. But Nike, it's a
Right.
lot cooler. Qualifying process is deeper.
And there's a prestige to it. It's
Prestige.
been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's historic. You get to run at these cool courses that everyone talks about. And meanwhile, running lanes like a
brand
mile
new.
split flex. So
Yeah.
you can run
Yeah.
you know what I
Facts.
mean? And I don't mean no knock on anyone that does well at running lane, but more those times. And I look at like specific like I've been spending a little bit of time looking at the Ohio kind of all-time cross-country rankings because they've been messed up a little bit this weekend. But some of the like the one kid I don't want to name drop kids but there's running lane times on there and it's just not as prestigious to run when you're running fast in that course. You run fast at running lane or you're Connor Ackley, you go 14:29 on a very average to even below average
I would agree.
course. I mean that is impressive. Which brings me go ahead.
Straight to the point. I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
arguably one of the greatest cross-country performance in OHSA history.
I agree, and
If you
that's
count the OHSA,
I
obviously
agree.
it's postseason.
I agree,
but
and that's something we're going to touch
Yeah.
on for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously those girls' times I just listed off, some very quick times, some fast times. Perhaps it would be weighed a little bit differently if we threw some of the other girls in there, like Katie Clute and Sarah Pierre. But on the men's side, the race as a whole was deep. The guys at the front, I think, just weighed strung out those times really fast. So I feel bad because I'm not giving a lot of credit to a lot of Ohio guys as I'm going to list off some of these individuals. But I don't have enough time. The race was
Yeah.
so deep. There
Yeah.
were so many Ohio guys that ran under like 15:45.
I've never seen that many people under 16 on that course. Or honestly, kind of in general. No, not in general, but
Anywhere.
Anywhere,
It
yeah.
was
Anywhere.
insanity.
Anywhere.
It
Yeah.
was, and maybe this is something I should have looked at a little bit deeper on the women's side, but on the men's side, because I had been looking at this because obviously my boys from Arlington were there.
Yeah.
Every state that was there had all their good teams and individuals go. Everybody went to
Wow.
NXR this year. Like everyone, all the national ranked teams, all the individuals, and maybe that was part of it. But I kind of
Something in the air, man.
I know I kind of cut it off at the sub 15:30 performances because
Sure.
I don't have enough time. But there's a lot of kids like the freshman from
Landon Kimmel?
no I will talk
There's
about
another
him. The one who runner up in Division 3. Gosh,
Schneider.
Luke Schneider ran 15:37. I'm not even going to talk
Wow.
about him. I
Wow.
mean, there's a lot of guys who ran 20 plus seconds faster than the state meet at this course. Now state meet times whatnot weren't
Whatever, yeah.
windy, but still they would have ran faster. Guys like Colin Cernansky, D2 state champ, he ran 15:36. I don't have time to talk about a lot of these guys who ran
Yeah.
incredibly well. But I'll let it hop into. I previously mentioned Mike Nichols from Arlington ran 15:25. Huge day for him. Specifically, what I'm curious to see how this develops. Obviously, he beat Cernansky. Wasn't Cernansky's best day, but this would compare to the times that Cernansky was running, and this was on a very legit course. Cernansky's obviously the real deal, state champ, has the accolades, but his PRs were in Worcester, Riverside, which ran really fast, really early.
Yeah.
For Mike Nichols, run 15:25, but
crazy.
my point is,
Yeah.
I don't think he's here to play. I think things, and you never know how things are going to develop in the future, but guys are always like, Cernansky and Nichols, the top two guys returning in the state last year in Division 2. Can Nichols compete with Cernansky? I don't know. Maybe he
Sure.
can.
I don't see why not.
Based
for
off of
that.
Saturday
Yeah.
or Sunday, he can.
I think he can.
And I'm not
Yeah.
throwing any bias in there, but I think that's cool to look at. When
It
you
is
guy that
cool.
makes that big of a jump, is he ready to make that jump to the next level to
We'll
run
see. It's
with?
indoor track times,
run
man.
with the
It'll
big
be
dogs.
fun to see.
Absolutely.
Go breakout performance action.
Right, absolutely. Won't spend too much time on Mike though. Next we got Joshua Razor from Dublin, Jerome.
He's a beast,
Huge PR. He had about 25 seconds. He's 32nd in the meet. Ran 15:25.
Nice.
Trevor Lanoy, one of the previously mentioned triplets from Lancaster,
City.
was 30th in 15:24. You're noticing these times are tight. It was like boom, 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 boom once you hit 15 flat this weekend.
Right.
Then talk about him all year. We were slightly, no disrespect to Landon, but we were slightly disappointed with his state meet performance. Imagine being
Yeah.
disappointed with the freshman running
That's
16
how good
flat.
It is, man.
Popped
Yeah.
off, Landon Campbell, freshman, Tippecanoe, 30th in 15:23.
Good.
That's his most impressive performance this year. I don't care about his 15:13. Tara Hote, That's phenomenal. I'm calling it Terre Haute. I don't care.
Gosh.
That is phenomenal.
He does it again. Top freshman. Honestly, this is probably the fastest time I ever ran by a freshman on this course ever. To my knowledge.
That's the fastest. He just.
Is that true?
There's no way any freshman's ever ran quicker on this course. There's no way.
You might be right.
There's just no way. I was top returner my junior year with like a 15:30.
That would be a hard stat to check. I mean, we got it. There's no performance list for the
At least from
Terre
Ohio,
Haute
it
course.
is. Yeah.
There's just no way, bro. I'm
Yeah.
putting it there. I don't
Okay.
even need to do the research. I know in my head.
He knows. He knows.
I just know, dude.
Yeah, because here's how I know. Because a lot of years 15:23 will almost make it to NXN.
Yeah.
It's top 10.
I went 15-20 my senior year.
Yeah, well, too bad you were 30th this year. No prayer, no shot.
Okay.
Liam Shaughnessy, Dublin Kaufman. Next guy to talk about. He's phenomenal. I like this kid. He just committed to Ohio State. He's a 4:14 miler on the track, but he just ran 15:12. It was a phenomenal race. I was at that course. He just kind of moved up alone by himself the whole race. Obviously, a great meet for him. Next, we got Sam Raschuti, Jr., Dublin Jerome. We've been talking about him all year. A phenomenal ton of talent. Was just runner-up to Ackley last week. Well, he was the 4th Ohio guy today. But he ran 15:06 for 14th. Next, we have Ben Gableman. I feel like this guy's flown a little bit under the radar because of those big names we've had all year, Ackley, Rice, Raschuti. But he ran phenomenal. He was 4th last week at the state meet, but still, it just flies a little under the radar. He was a 4:12 miler as a sophomore. But big day from him. He ran 15:02 for 11th.
That's the future right there.
15:02 for 11th? What?
Yeah.
As a junior.
That doesn't even make
That's
sense.
the future of Ohio. That kid is good.
And then Tommy Rice, 7th, 14:58. Big day for him.
Yeah.
Big PR.
Good little bounce back.
I liked it as
Congrats
well.
on the sub-15 finally.
He was
well deserved.
hauling the last half mile of that race.
Good.
He was, you kind of come through the start line at that course, and then you
I know
finish
exactly what you mean.
little.
Long
he was
straightaway.
working hard.
Yeah.
And I want to.
It's a long time to work hard for, too.
It is, and I want to touch on a couple things before we start discussing Ackley, because I got a few minutes there and a few things I want to bring up with you guys.
Sorry, buddy.
Sure.
I'm interested a little bit to see how things are going to play out once we hit the track, because you have these guys. Obviously, Ackley is, right as of now, he's in a division by himself. Obviously, though.
Yeah.
Tommy Rice is returning 3,200 state champ, but then you got these guys like Ben Gableman, ran 15:02, is only 4 seconds behind Tommy. Last year, he ran the mile at state. He ran 4:12. Then you got Sam Raschuti. He was, 3rd or 4th, ran 9:07, 8, something like that.
Yeah.
Got a Liam Shaughnessy, ran 15:12. He was a miler last year, didn't even make it to the state meet because he ran 4:15 in his region and was like 6th,
Yeah.
That's nuts.
which sucks. I'm interested to see how that 2 mile can develop. Obviously, you need weather and things like that to kind of play in your favor, but I think we could really see some cool things develop in those state meets. You look kind of throughout history, there's a couple off the top of my head, I believe 2016, 17, 18. There's a couple years, you get a guy or two under 9, then a few guys low 9s as well. Usually about 9, 10 rounds out the podium those years, maybe a few seconds higher. But I think we could be in for something really cool if all these guys opted to go for the 2 mile. That being said, if Connor Ackley is in the 2 mile, I don't see these guys opting for the 2 mile. You know what I mean? Because you look at that mile and it's
Interesting.
almost wide open.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just list all these guys off. Raschuti 15:06, Gableman 15:02, Rice 14:58, Ackley 14:29. We'll get there in a second still, but obviously he's head and shoulders above everyone else in the miles. Chevalier's gone. Ackley was runner-up last year. He ran 4:10, which is obviously very fast, but not even in the realm of a 14:29.
Here's the thing: does he run the 2 mile next year, or does he stick with the 16?
I thought he should have gone for it last year. He DNS'd it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
interesting.
he can do whatever he wants and we'll win whatever he chooses.
Yeah, but
we'll see.
that mile, it's just so different. You're not even talking about distance runners. You got all these Loveland guys from last year who are all 8:16 guys. They were like 10th at the state meet in cross, which is good, but then they ran 7:46, won the 4x8. Chevalier's a straight miler. You're just talking, you bring in different guys you wouldn't usually bring in.
Okay.
I just think that'll be something interesting to watch.
It'll be fun.
How many guys can you get under 9? There's only ever been 2 or 3 in one season. How many could we get in a race if we threw all these guys together?
Yeah.
And obviously the depth of this race brought all those times down. If everyone was just out in no man's land, that changes things.
Of course.
Absolutely.
From what I heard about this race, it was just a complete foot race from the beginning, and they got out blazing.
It was. I was there. They said I was looking on a Indiana Mile Split wrote something about the meet. Said they got out in like high 420s. That is not true. I was standing there at the line. I started to watch when the gun went off. They were out in like 425.
What the heck?
Are you serious?
Yes, they were.
You didn't see that in high school.
Because my boy
ever.
Colin from Arlington was in 436, and he was like 20th.
What the heck?
He wasn't only 6 seconds behind those guys. I mean, they were cooking. The first K was like 240.
Yeah.
It is downhill, but still very, very, very
Right.
impressive.
Right.
Very impressive.
That brings us into my last kind of talking point, which is going to wrap up a lot of our high school stuff for the year. We'll have a little bit more, but this is where most of the guys are
We
going
have
to
some
go.
plans.
Right. I just mean there's not going to be as many people racing for cross country.
Yeah.
Connor Ackley, 4th in 14:29, led a handful of guys under. He didn't lead them. He was with a handful of guys who went under the previous course records with a lot of big names who have already ran at this course. I mean, just from Ohio, Caleb Brown was obviously there 2 years ago. He ran 14. He ran about 15 flat, but he was third at NXN. He was third at NXN, ran 15 flat. Connor Ackley was just 4th in 14:29 on the same course. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't remember the conditions from that Caleb Brown day off the top of my head.
It's
but
pretty.
he got
It's
beat.
pretty decent, pretty
I-
average.
Was it?
I was in that race. Yeah.
Okay. And he actually got beat by Josh Methner, who was runner-up at NXN that year. Connor Ackley also broke our teammate Zach Kreft's Ohio record by tenths. And no disrespect to Zach Kreft, but Terre Haute's harder than the Midwest Meet of Champions.
It's true.
And this is want to kind of open up to you guys a little bit. We on our run the other day,
Oh man.
We,
this is heated.
Oh dear.
and I want to keep this contained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ackley obviously breaking Zach Kreft's records. When you talk where that puts Ackley in front of a lot of runners in Ohio history, and maybe you guys would need to pull up times or something, whatever works for you. But where does that put Ackley? And we need to keep this contained.
Yeah.
Where does that put Ackley all time in Ohio?
Yeah.
And what does, and more so, what does he need to do to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Insert himself with
Into that GOAT name.
into that greatest of Ohio
Yeah.
all time. And like I said, I want to keep this contained, but obviously breaking someone like Zach Kreft's records, okay, respectfully to Kreft, no one said he was the best runner of all time in Ohio.
Right.
I think a little bit is because a lot of people question the validity of the course that he ran on.
And the track times too.
And he also ran
His track times were
8:58,
great,
which
but
is phenomenal. But
there's better guys.
there's a lot of guys that
Yeah.
ran closer to 8:50 and then under as well.
Yeah, there's a handful that sub 850 in Ohio history.
Right. But I think this 14:29 is very legit. So what do we want? What do we want to see from Ackley come the
Sure.
come the 8 laps in the spring?
First off, I just want to say that we spent the majority of Monday's run, maybe like all 10 miles of it, for me at least, talking about the best of all time Ohio. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest debates I've ever seen. It was awesome.
And I think the best of Ohio all time is maybe a later episode because I think that'll take up a lot of time.
And I think it will be. And I think we might bring in our teammate too, who had a lot to say about this, Zach Benito. And we'll see. But that'll be a later date episode. But did you ask what does he need to do to insert himself? in
Yes.
this
What does Ackley need to do? The greatest of Ohio,
All
and what do
time.
we want to see?
GOAT.
And what would we expect to see come this 3200?
Yeah.
Because he was 4th in 14:29.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to get pulled to these things.
I would personally like him to not only run the fast time, but also get the accolade. And I don't mean a state title. I know he'll get that. I mean a national title. I mean a Brooks PR finish, top 2 at least. Just from what other guys in the past have done, like Jordan won Brooks PR, Dustin won Brooks PR. Guys
in the mile.
In the mile, but Jordan won 2 mile. But I'd like to see him win the Brooks PR meet, and I would like to see him go at the very least 840 mid. 840 mid would definitely insert his name. I just think 850 is just not going to cut it. There's like 3 or 4 guys that I would firmly put ahead of him, like guys from like the 80s and 70s even that were able to go sub 850 before 850 was even a thing for high schoolers. You know, the Bob Kennedys of the world, the
Alan Charshu
John
didn't have
Ziska.
Alan
Yeah.
Charshu didn't have a 5K, but he went 840 on the track.
Right.
And he split. If you look at his splits, he would have had to split 9:15 for his 2.5 mile race.
That's disgusting. So that for reasons like that, I just can't say he's the best in Ohio if he can't at least match a similar track time, because obviously cross times are. I mean, I legitimately, I'm sure he went 14:29, but that was legit. But I like to see him run that really quick track time for me to insert his name in there.
Before we even get to track, he's got to do it on the cross country
Sure.
course. Let's
Yeah.
go. Dustin Horder, 2017, 6th at NXN. Caleb Brown in 2019, 3rd at NXN. To get in that conversation,
Sam Wharton won NXN 2012.
in 2012, he's got to be somewhere in that vicinity of top 5, top 6, and then he has to move on to the track. And he's got to, of course, run his regular season. He's got to run. He's got to run under 4:05 in the 16. He's got to run under 8:45.
I'd say.
In the 3,200, and he's got to go to nationals, and he's got to have a podium finish and do really well.
Right.
Whether that's the Brook PR or New Balance
Whatever
Nationals,
it is, right.
he's got to go do it. New Balance Nationals, honestly,
watered
maybe
down.
a little bit less. It is very good competition, but the Brooks PR is where
That's where it's
everyone
at.
goes to
Yeah.
compete. I mean,
And it is invite only, so he's got to get invited, which I think he would.
Yeah,
but
he
he's got to.
think.
Usually, you see those early track times and whatnot. Maybe something like an Arcadia. It's where a lot of. I know Caleb Brown was looking at that his senior year.
Yeah.
Caleb Brown's also someone too who I think not necessarily overlooked, but he didn't have that senior track season.
yes.
After a
Yes.
Good point.
third place
Yeah.
finish at NXN,
And a dominant indoor team.
8:54.
Yeah.
Who says he couldn't have gone 8:45?
That's facts. Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like Caleb Brown was kind of cut short by the pandemic, which is very unfortunate, obviously, for all those guys. But yeah, Caleb Brown's a name. I mean, I won't know about greatest of all time, but definitely an overlooked name. I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got to go. Nate Mountain last year or 2 years ago ran
Facts.
8:42 in the full 2 mile to win that Brooks PR. He's got to do something similar or comparable to that.
Where you argue, though, Nate Mountain does not have the cross country accolades.
That's true.
Yeah.
In
That's true.
any form of
Yeah,
matter.
and
He has
his
a,
PR's
He has a
fine.
Yeah.
14:46
Which is
at a
awesome.
Trinity Valkyrie invite that no one likes to even
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
about because I've heard it's an absolute.
What?
Nate Mountain
It's
was
fast. It's
Nate Mountain
insanely
was
fast.
not Nate Mountain until come indoor, come outdoor, and I know.
Yeah.
and trust me, because
You've seen him often, yeah.
I know firsthand.
Right. I think you kind of took away any shot of him being the greatest of all time, beating him at that statement in 2020 in cross, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, that
But yeah.
that wraps
Continue.
up the high school segment a bit. I'm sure we'll have more conversations coming forward, especially as we get into Foot Locker and Running Lane. We'll probably have the same conversation. Hopefully, maybe with Katie Clute. She the best ever. We'll find out. But I'll pass the stick off to Hunter
Sure.
for some college stuff.
Little quick college stuff. It's a segment we're going to run here. We're going to go through all the divisions. D1 and D3 have their national meet this weekend. D2 has regionals. D2 nationals will be in 3 weeks. We'll talk about that later in another episode. But I kind of just want to go with you guys. Obviously, you guys aren't as prepared as I was looking into this, but I'm kind of going to just ask you guys a question. Kind of like a couple segments ago where I asked about who do you think is going to win that conference. I'm going to do the same thing with team-wise, individual-wise. Who do you think will be the best Ohio team or best Ohio individual that either went to high school in Ohio or runs for an Ohio team in each division? And I'll also give my input, of course. But Division III, men's, individual is the most obvious. I don't know if we'll even talk about it that much, but Alex Phillip.
Alex Phillip.
I don't know.
Is there anyone to challenge him?
In the country?
In the country
No.
this year in D3?
I don't think so. I mean, you can look it up, but
Really? I'm gonna run that right now.
I think he's that good. Where
Is he
I
that
can even
good?
not even look at the.
He's him.
okay.
he's a
Yeah,
him.
he is that good. The old reliable Lactic
I'll be using a lot of Lactic, yeah.
has him at the top. So
By a lot
I mean,
too.
it looks good for. Interesting. It has Jeff Joseph at 13th, Simon Hayes at 11th.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a better question. Who's going to be the second individual from Ohio? Will it be Cal, Simon, Jeff?
I like my boy Jeff Joseph.
Me
I
too.
ran against Jeff in high
Me
school. He's
too.
a super humble kid.
Yeah,
He
Alliance
didn't get good
boys.
till later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Not saying these other guys aren't, but
Wilmington's got their 3 in there. They got half their team in there. It's funny. You
no
don't really
team?
see 3 individuals qualify for internationals, but Wilmington has 3, but not their team. The team didn't make it.
that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do. You're 4, 5, that's
you have to
pretty
you have to
bad.
work
Yeah.
hard for that,
Yeah,
especially
that's-
and no disrespect in Division III where there's not as much
It's
depth.
not that deep. Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know about Cal, I've heard things. He's been hurt. He didn't look the best at regionals. He dropped off pretty hard. I'm just going to say Simon Hayes, second best Ohio individual. I think he's the second most talented. I don't know. That's who I think for that. Team-wise, JCU or Case Western. Probably JCU will be the best team. They're finding a way to turn it on at the right time. They looked really good at OACs. They looked really good at regionals.
They've been doing this thing a little bit. You got a low stick. You got a one or
and this is
a 2-pointer.
And this is the meet you have that low stick in. Of course, it's nationals. It's going to mean so much more. The Alex Phillip gives you a 1, or like you said, maybe heaven forbid a 2, but probably a 1. They just have to score 4 guys at that point. I think JCU is going to be best Ohio finish. They're only ranked like 16th last time I checked, so I don't know. We'll see if they can get a top 10 finish. They were 4th last year, but we'll see on that one. Women's side, D3, Women's Ohio is not very deep, unfortunately. JCU is ranked 23rd in the nation, team-wise, and I think they'll be the team that does it for Ohio. Not that many teams are in there. Mount Union is in it, but I don't know. Individual-wise, no one should be All-American. I think ONU's individual qualifier is ranked 44th on Lactic, so maybe she gets All-American, but...
Got a bubble player.
Player.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, facts.
Has she been to nationals before?
No.
That can always change
Tessa
things.
Pitkovich, she's never been, I don't think. So we'll see on that. So hopefully we get a few All-Americans on the women's side of D3. And best of luck to Mount Union and JCU as they will compete this weekend at Michigan State for the D3 national meet. Let's go down to D2 regionals. Who do we think is going to qualify? Men's side, individual. We'll go team because I feel like this will get rid of a lot of the individuals. Walsh, I think, will obviously qualify. Mm-hmm. I think it's I don't think
Walsh men.
Walsh men.
Nobody else? You don't give Northwood a spot?
They're not from Ohio.
Oh,
they're just GMAC. But I think Cedarville misses it. They haven't been good enough. And Raymond, we set him as a wild card. He's just not in shape right now. I saw what he ran at GMAC. I was there. He was buried. He's just not in shape to be in their varsity. So I think their 5 screws them over a little too much. Cedarville will not make it. It's my official prediction. I don't know what you guys think about that.
It's fair enough. Walsh makes it.
Walsh makes it. That's it. Individuals, I'll go Noah Fisher, obviously. And I think Jordan Foster finds a way to get himself in the mix there. I'll say Foster makes it. I don't think the Haven will make it. He has not looked good since September. No diss on him. I mean, he knows it, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got individually as well from D2 runners in Ohio.
Hunter's feeling blunt today.
Yeah, I'm just telling how it is.
Gonna heavily disagree and say that no official will be the only individual qualifier.
Well, I didn't say for sure. I think he'll make it. I don't know for sure, but okay.
This region is looking thick. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, a lot of those guys individuals. There's a lot of those teams because that matters.
It's a mix.
Okay, then you're right.
It's a huge mix. I mean, he's gonna have to pull something crazy. I mean, obviously it helps that half of the top field is all Grand Valley State guys, and obviously they will be qualifying out as a team. But you just have so many random guys in there that are extremely good.
Fair point.
So I don't know. We'll see.
It's very fair. Women's side, team-wise, I think Cedarville's the only team that makes it out, and they're obviously, we talked about them a lot. They're a really.
Are they
good
still
team.
7th? Did that change?
That might have changed, but maybe not. Sorry, I did not check this.
Walsh women have a chance.
They're on the bubble.
I'm saying they have a chance, and
they need a bid spot.
And this is because last year they qualified out as the 7th spot.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we don't know.
Anything can happen.
I believe they're ranked 8th in the region through the coaches poll. So, I mean, you're knocking on the door. We will see what happens. Anything can happen on a given day. So that's something they keep tabs on.
That's what's awesome about this sport.
Love it. Yeah. Let's get to the exciting part. D1, baby. Okay, I'll tell you guys.
Oh, my gosh. That was exciting.
Thrilling. Watch the last episode if you don't know anything about it.
So we'll start with the men's because I feel like the women's is more exciting. There's more of it there for D1. So we'll leave that for last. But men, looking at Lactic, there's only 3 guys rated in the top 100 individually that are from the Ohio high school that run for Ohio. And there's only 1 guy who made it out of Ohio. No team made it out of Ohio men-wise. It's just Beatty Ball, like we talked about last time. And I don't think he'll be the highest placement looking at these other guys. I don't think he'll even sniff an All-American spot. I mean, it's great he made it, but he's just not as good as those guys.
You said it,
Yeah. I mean, it's fair to say. Got Arjun rated 100, according to Lactic.
Michigan, by the way.
Yeah, Arjun of Michigan, I'm sorry. Yep. And then 69th, Anthony Camary is from Broadville, Brecksview Heights. Arjun's from Thomas Warrington, by the way, for those who don't know. But Anthony Camary, same grade as Arjun, Brecksville, Broadview Heights, and he runs for Ole Miss. And he ran for Miami last year. He's a beast, 750 low, 1330s guy. He's rated 69th. That's a little bubble spot probably for the All-American. And this is just lactic. This isn't real. You know, I mean, it's real, but you know what I'm saying. It's not the end-all, be-all. And the only other one rated, and I think he's a top guy from Ohio, it's Vinny Mari, Arizona State. He's from Howland High School, graduated 2019. He's an absolute animal in college. He was good in high school, and he's just completely stepped up his game in college. He's legitimately a 340 guy, 340 low guy.
Almost, maybe even more impressively, 1339 on the track.
Yes.
Which is incredible. And we did not talk about it last episode because the Mountain West or the West Regional had not occurred yet.
Yeah.
But he ran 28:42.
Yes. And he's
that region flew.
That region.
And he got 11th in that.
Yeah,
he got 11th in that meet, which is insane.
To be fair, it was a really fast course and everyone ran really quick. Right. But still, just putting that time out there is kind of wild, especially on a cross country day.
Right. And respectfully, Nico Young, who won that, I believe would have podiumed at the NCAA 10K on the track.
Oh, most definitely.
With that time?
Yes.
I believe it.
I checked some of those times and looked at where they'd place on the track, and it's a little suspect. But I'm not here to judge.
One of the Mari picked it up with
he still ran
really
it for 10,000 meters.
He's rated 44th, according to Lactic, and my prediction is Vinny Mari will be your top D1 Ohio individual.
I got Vinny Mari All-American.
Me too. I think he does. I think he's such a
I think
runner.
He's talented enough. He's done
Faith
it before.
In the Ohio boys.
Yeah, he's been there before.
I think all three of them will actually get on. I think Arjun will find a way, and I think
Arjun looked good.
Anthony Camary will find a way, and I think Vinny will find a way. And then a little special a special little shout out. Aaron Beinfeld, he's not from Ohio, didn't go to Ohio High School, but he ran for UC for a few years.
Yeah.
He's an Oregon's best runner.
Yeah.
Aaron Beinfeld, he's one of the best runners in the country. He's rated 7th in the nation.
Dude, that's nuts. Aaron Beinfeld literally living the dream. He goes to Oregon. He's their top runner. He becomes incredible.
Yeah.
He's ranked top in the nation.
Right.
I mean, it literally does not get much better.
We want to say best of luck to you, Aaron. Obviously, like I just said, he's from Germany. He's not from Ohio High School, but he did run for UC for most of his college career, and that's where a lot of people do know him. So we're obviously rooting for him over here.
So make us proud. Make the Buckeye State proud, I guess. For your
absolutely.
experience.
And then lastly for the college is the woman, and there's 5 women from Ohio. Andrea Kuhn, she actually runs for Ohio State. Their team made it. And she is rated 90th lactic-wise. Lydia Miller, she's from Lipscomb. She went to Thomas Warrington. She's 89th. And then we got Joy Churcher. She runs for Toledo. She's 56th. Sydney Seymour, she's from Tennessee. She's NC State's like 5, but she's from Ohio. She went to Tennessee last year. She's rated 33rd. Addie Engels, 23rd. She runs for Ohio State. She's from Ohio, obviously. She runs for Ohio State.
Where did Seymour go to high school?
What's it? It's a Cleveland school, and she's grade below me, and I completely am blanking on this.
Because I was looking at results the other day, and I saw her name, and I was like, I know her because I spend a lot of time on mile split than I'm willing to admit.
She was good in high school. Got really good at Tennessee, where she ran for 4 years, and she was sub 16 on the track, and she grad transferred, or maybe just transferred to NC State. So that's a friggin'
that's a good grad transfer.
Oh my gosh.
She ran for Cleveland St. Josephine, so private all-girls school.
And then your top girl, she's from Cincinnati Turpin, NC State's 3 somehow, is Sam Bush. She's rated 13th. According to Lactic, and she's their 3. That's how deep this NC State team is.
NC State girls are filthy. Yeah. They were doing stuff on the track that was the depth was just ridiculous. And we're not a North Carolina podcast, but it was nasty.
I mean, it's probably one of the I don't know for sure, but probably one of the best teams in state history. You have to think.
I would think so. I know they barely beat a few weeks ago. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was New Mexico
at Nuttycombe.
Is that where it was? New Mexico, I think it was New Mexico.
I think it was.
Who's ranked 2nd right now. Their team won it last year. They're legit.
Right.
It'll be fun to see.
Yeah. What are your guys' predictions? Top female individual, either from Ohio or runs for an Ohio team.
I mean, how do you not go with Sam Bush?
Yeah.
She's running with the team.
The only other one.
Addie Ingle's legit, but she's
a sub 20
I think that she's going to follow the trend of her season in Ohio State season where they've just been putting it on late into the season and that she can have a really good performance. And you said, what was she in the lactic?
23rd.
Oh.
Ooh. So she's not even that far behind.
No, okay.
You said 33rd.
No, 33rd Sydney Seymour.
Dang, Ohio girls, man. We got some
studs
studs running.
What will be
might be like 5 of
interesting.
Yeah.
Last year, Addie Ingle was also runner-up at the Great Lakes Regional. Then she was 60s at the national meet.
That's
I'm not saying things repeat themselves.
You got to look at historical. You have to factor it in there.
And I'm just curious. Obviously, rooting for. But yeah.
I mean,
Sam Bush. Yeah, that's what I got.
Sam Bush is
NC
probably.
State's too overpowered.
Yeah. Also, good luck to Carmen Rianos from Miami. She made it individually. Pretty awesome to see her. We talked about her a few times.
Ended up making it out because
she made it out.
Because we took 6 teams.
Because we took 6 teams. That is very true. Lastly, then obviously it would go to best Ohio team. Wait, it's just 2, right? Toledo, Ohio State.
Oh yeah. We got a. Shoot, we got a little.
Ohio State. I think they have 3 girls top 100 in lactic. Their 4.5 kind of hurts them. They're good, man. Plus, Addie Ingle's that good low stake.
I'm gonna turn around and give it to Toledo. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Toledo.
That's fair.
I think that they have a better 4, 5, 6 duo, and some of those women, the Vining twins, they fill in. And Lou Troy's, they have a better day. They fill in, and they use that depth, and that they're gonna run better.
2 good twins on a team.
Yeah, that's insane.
So cool.
I know, dude. I could only imagine.
It's rather cool.
I don't know, dude. I'm going back and forth right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me a week and a half ago, I would have said Toledo.
Yeah. I mean, they were only 20 points
of Ohio State
at the regional, and those 20 points
can be made up pretty easily.
We're all credited to one runner on Toledo falling back. So I mean, really, one person has a better day, and you're back to square one.
I agree.
You're even.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm still going Ohio State. Sorry. Go Bucks, baby.
I don't know. And flipping a coin, it says Ohio State's going to be the better team. So
coin settled it. Yeah, awesome, guys. Thanks for participating. I guess we'll do a question of the week before we end things here.
I love these questions of the week.
This, what sport would you do if you didn't do running?
Ooh.
Like...
collegiately.
I'd have to be... I don't know if I'm good enough to do any other sport collegiately.
No.
But in a world, if I was...
in a world that you were. That's what I mean.
Basketball.
I would also say basketball.
Always loved basketball.
Me too.
Played through my sophomore year.
Did not, but I still love it.
Okay, well, I played football for 5-6 years, tackle football.
I've seen you tackle that dummy outside by the practice.
So I think I'm going to have to go football, but I don't know. Sometimes I look at our football team, I just see like this long practice they have out there, and it just doesn't look fun. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like the way the culture looks of our football team.
It's probably true.
Oh, like 8 never sounds good, or 9 or 10 or whatever they are now.
10, yeah.
No, it just doesn't look fun. But I know there's I was on a football team. There's something special about like making to a championship with your guys and hitting people hard. But I don't know. I'd be scared to get hard kind of too. Like you don't want to get injured or hurt. You don't want to mess up that brain, man. That's bad. I need that.
That's a good point.
Football though, final answer?
Yeah, football.
Basketball, football. There you go.
Sweet. Well, cool. Now you want to wrap us up here?
Absolutely, boys. Talking Shop Podcast, Ohio's #1 running podcast. Noah Graham, Hunter Moore, Nathan Moore. We are out. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.